And okay, it's Thursday night. Time to do a Las Vegas Triathlon Club member spotlight. Tonight we've got Heather Black. I'm John Mercer, president of Las Vegas Tri Club, and I've got co-host Bob Gambo. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
It's going fine, sir. Thank you.
That didn't sound very convincing, but that's all right.
Actually, it is. I'm awake and haven't injured myself lately.
Awesome. Well, I am really looking forward to this member spotlight because one, Heather has been in the club for a while, but she's also been in the sport for like I'm stealing Bob's material, but she's originally
Just leave
from
me
Canada.
something, John.
I know, originally from Canada and a fellow. Well, I don't know. Can we call you a New Yorker or? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I spent some time there.
Yeah, down in Ithaca, which is a beautiful place this time of year. But I'm going to go ahead before I get too far. I'm going to turn it over to Bob for the official introduction.
All right, thank you, John, and welcome, Heather. And again, we're very pleased to have Heather with us tonight. And this is something also near and dear to my heart. Heather has not only done a lot of triathlons, she's done everything up to and including Ironman and a dozen or so half Ironman and everything in between. She's been doing triathlons for around over 20 years. So she's an experience and she's a wealth of knowledge. And what makes her exceptionally valuable as well is that she is a licensed certified physical therapist. So anybody who has any issues and you need someone who knows what the triathlon stresses do on your body, Heather is your person. So we're going to talk to Heather tonight, find out how she's doing, what she's training for, and perhaps how she stays injury free using some of her background. But Heather has done 3 of our club races this year. She did most recently the August 28th sprint triathlon.
Yeah.
So welcome, Heather. How you doing tonight?
Thank you. I am doing well. How are you guys?
Yeah, so far so good. So far so good. What did you think of our last club race? How was that?
It was great. I enjoy the club races. They're just low-key, fun events. Always good to do those.
Yeah.
So John, you usually start this. You have a particular. You usually have a particular question.
I do. I always want to know.
Very first triathlon. So let me jump in there. What was the first triathlon you did? You said it was like 20 years ago.
So
but
it was actually
also something interesting is you did one in gym class in high school.
Yes.
Tell us about that one.
PE class in high school, they had different sections that we could do, and I think I decided to do a 6-week triathlon section for a PE class. And our teacher said, if you guys do a triathlon, you will all get an A. So every single person in the class did the triathlon in order to get their A.
Well, tell us about
I have heard so many different things.
It was fun. It was we ended up having to lie about what city we were from because it was out of our city. So we had to pretend we were from a totally different city. And it was a pool swim. I was not a swimmer back then, terrible swimmer at the time. And it did like the zigzag formation down the pool, which was just really, really stressful.
And you're climbing on people and they're climbing on you.
Yeah. I think I was near the back of the pack though, so it was okay. And then the bike was just, I had this old road bike that I think was a hand-me-down from my sister that I rode. I think it fit me okay, but and then the run was just a couple laps around a track.
But still,
and I think I won my division because I was the only person.
I love it. Okay, well, wait a second. When we talked before, before we started the call, you said you've done a lot of triathlons, but not counting this high school one. But this sounds like this should count.
Yeah. All right, we can count.
Why wouldn't it count? You swam, you biked, and you ran. And I've heard all kinds of different reasons that people got into triathlon, but this is the first one that anyone has ever had to do one to get an A.
To get an A, yes.
I can add that to the list.
Yeah. So after that, I took a little time off. When I went to college, I played rugby in college. And then after that, I just I got my first job and I started doing a couple of running races. And a friend of mine, she was pregnant at the time, but she really wanted to do a triathlon. So we would go down, and despite having done my first triathlon in high school already, I was a little bit nervous. So we went and we volunteered at a few of these races when I lived in Louisiana.
Okay.
So we volunteered and just body marked people. And it was a little less scary when you go out there and you see all different shapes and sizes, because you have this image of what a triathlete looks like, and they don't all look
and
like
it's usually wrong, isn't it?
Yes. Magazine. So it really, kind of said, okay, I think I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I did my first adult triathlon.
Two things that you said were really important. One is I'm glad you did a couple of triathlons where you volunteered, just so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
That should be almost like a qualification before you do one. You've got to go and volunteer, body mark, or hand out Gatorade, something just so you can see and be in, the atmosphere of the triathlon. So you're not as nervous when you come and do one for the first time.
Yeah. It's just seeing the
that helped
flow
calm
of
you
how
down, didn't it?
things work, and it makes it a lot easier to do your first race.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
oh, did you, I'm sorry, you did have 2 points, but I wanted to get a sense of that first one, how you prepped for it. And now, did you still have the borrowed bike for this one, or is this,
No, so I was planning on, since the high school days, I had bought my own bike.
Okay.
So it was a Trek composite carbon fiber thing.
Oh,
that had those like U-shaped aero bars
yeah,
from way back. And I told my mom I was doing this triathlon and I was going to use my mountain bike. She's like, well, no, we'll ship your bike to you. So about 2 days before the race, she shipped my bike to me.
Well, that's nice of her.
So yeah, it probably cost more than the bike was actually worth, but I used it for about 3 or 4 more years. So I got my money's worth out of it.
So wait,
instead of racing on that mountain bike.
You didn't, oh, so you were biking up until the race, but you just had this bike 2 days before the race, or did you? Okay, all right, good. I was worried that you only had 2 days of biking going into the triathlon.
No.
Was the first one a sprint?
It was a sprint. Yeah, it was probably like a 700-meter swim.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe a 10-mile bike, 5K run.
Yeah.
So your typical sprint distance.
I like what you said earlier. I like what you said earlier about you got to see, as you're doing the body marking and everything, it's like, hey, all these people don't look like they're chiseled out of granite, and they don't look like everybody in the triathlete magazine. We got all shapes and sizes and ages, and it's like there's so many different people in there. That's one thing that's cool, about triathlon, is how many different people different types of people.
You have this image of what a triathlete looks like, and it's anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna
all right, so
train.
So you had 2 first triathlons then, your high school one, and now this one. How did they compare when you finished?
Well, there was beer available for us at the second.
That's great.
It was a pretty small event. It was a small venue. It was a lot of fun.
That wasn't the Bud Light Triathlon Series, was it?
No.
Because there was one of those in Phoenix. So it's like, it was crazy. Every triathlon, I went to, they had a beer truck there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot of
So.
these races that I did when I was in Louisiana, they always had, some of them would have gumbo or jambalaya at the end of the race. So they had all these huge Cajun pots full of jambalaya.
Oh, we had to do that more often. That sounds good. Good.
Yeah, it was
good post-race food.
Yes, rice and sausage and chicken and everything. It's good.
I'm curious. In Louisiana, where did you swim?
So funny stories behind that one. Part of the time I lived in a small town and they didn't really have a pool. I was working at a physical therapy clinic that had a therapy pool, which was about 95 degrees. So I tried swimming in that. That was rough. You get very, very warm that way. And then the last year I was there, a friend of mine we decided we were going to do our first half Ironman. And we lived near a lake. So we would ride our bikes, or like my old mountain bike, I rode to the lake. and then we'd park our bikes there, and then we would go swimming in the lake. And now this was kind of rural Louisiana, and this is not a common thing to see. So one time the sheriff was on his boat and he came out to check on us because in his mind, the only reason we'd be out there is because we were drunk. So he's like, oh, I just wanted to make sure y'all weren't drinking.
Now, one thing that I was always curious about, maybe it's just a misconception, but doesn't Louisiana lakes have a lot of alligators in them?
Yeah, you can find some.
Yeah.
The area that we swam was actually fairly busy. Alligators tend to stay in more quiet coves. So if there's a lot of, swimming traffic, boat traffic, they're not going to be there. So where we were was kind of near a boat launch. So we were pretty good. We were pretty safe there.
I can just tell there are people who are listening to this that are saying, no way, I'm not swimming in a lake that's got alligators in it. It's like, and I'm probably one of them. It's like, I don't like that. That's funny though.
That is, I can't imagine swimming because I imagine that water is pretty rich with a lot of sediment too. So you probably can't see very far, right?
No, you couldn't use your hands in front of you. It was definitely murky most of the time.
Well, so this you did your first adult triathlon down in Louisiana, and you got your bike 2 days before the race. You finished, and how did you feel? And when did you sign up for the next one?
I think almost immediately I signed up for the next one. My friend that was pregnant did that first race with me. And as we were driving back, we were like talking about the next race we were going to do.
Oh, that's great.
We were ready. It was going to be a little bit longer distance. So I was nervous about that bike ride and the longer distance, but I now had my road bike, so it was okay. I could be a little faster.
And so the next race was the 70.3?
No, I spent, I did about 3 years of just local sort of sprint Olympic distance races. And then it was more or less just came out of a conversation with one of my coworkers that we should end up doing one of these.
Oh. Were triathlons when you started like that, were they fun, or was it the sense of accomplishment and the challenge part of it?
It was a little bit of everything. So Louisiana is like one big small town. So everybody goes to all the same races. So you become friends or frenemies or whatever with everybody you're racing with. So it just becomes a big get together. It kind of has that like club vibe feel to it, to those races, because everybody there. So it's really a lot of fun. You're competing with your friends or against your friends. So it ends up being a little more fun.
That does sound like it's fun, as far as, you are accomplishing something, you're finishing it, you're doing a triathlon, but at the same time, you're having fun and you're having community. That's one of the things I like about the club races. Do you find the same thing here with our club races? Yeah,
for sure. Because everybody's out there to just have fun, just enjoy themselves, get a good training session in.
Sometimes, yeah.
And the other thing I really like that you said is that you spent some time doing sprints in Olympics before going to a little bit longer distance. So, but tell us how you did that jump into the 70.3.
So I had one of my coworkers who had done some longer distance triathlons, and he was a college swimmer. So he kind of helped me through the swim, because again, the swim was not my strength at all. I was very nervous about swimming in open water, not swimming in a pool. And so we just sort of trained. I mean, every week we just ride a little longer. And he was a good biking partner. We were about the same speed on our bike, so it was really good. It was just to have that person. And when I was having a bad day, I would work to keep up with him. He was having a bad day, he could work to keep up with me. So we ended up having some really good training sessions that way, and we just slowly built up over probably about 3 or 4 months to that distance. So I was not prepared for that run, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So which half was this?
So this was, it was a new one. They were doing it in, I think it was Conroe, Texas. It was Iron Star. I think it's an Ironman, a 70.3 now. But that was its first year there. So a lot of people from the clubs in Louisiana are all heading out there to do it.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of people doing it. I had a lot of encouragement, and so it was a really good experience.
Well, I love the community that you're speaking to.
Mhm.
It's, just having other people around you that are doing the same thing. It's really a lot of fun. All right, but tell us about that half, like getting to the race and towing the start line. What was going through your mind?
Um, I was just nervous,
Yeah.
just nerves. It was scary.
Yeah.
Had you run that long before or after a bike? Had you
I
run
think I had done one time. I had gone a half marathon distance, but I am a sprinter at heart.
Mhm.
I like to go fast. I
Yeah.
do not like to pace myself. I like to go as fast as I can.
Mm,
So once I hit that distance, I got to about 8 miles on the run, and I was like, "Oh, I need to slow down." So
was it
ended
too
up
late or did you recover?
No, I recovered. I went out way, way too fast. So I just had to slow my pace down, and I had a really good race. I think my time was like 5 hours and 35 minutes.
Wow.
Oh,
Um,
that's
so
fantastic.
it was like a really good race for me. Um,
Well, and that's
Now,
me, everyone's nervous at the start line, and I don't know if that ever really goes away, but it's
yeah,
really
it doesn't
neat.
go away.
It's neat to hear you say that. But then once you got into the swim, how long before you just sort of settled into your race and this is what you do?
Yeah, it was almost immediate. Once I got my rhythm in the swim, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
And then you get out and you hop on the bike and like, okay, I got my rhythm on the bike now.
Yeah.
I just need to get through 56 miles, and
Yeah.
then
so you
once
didn't
I'm
have
done
the
with the
trouble.
bike, I can walk if I have to.
So you didn't have the trouble of going out too hard on the bike and the swim. You knew
No,
enough to pace yourself.
I knew how to pace myself. With swimming, I seem to just have one speed.
Yeah.
No matter how fast or slow I try to swim, and I can do it for a long time.
Mm.
So that kind of worked out well. And then the bike, I had trained really hard on the bike. The area I lived in had lots and lots of rolling hills. So I was really, really good on the hills there. And the course was very, very rolling hilly. So I
Mhm.
was like, I had the perfect training situation
Mhm.
for that bike course.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. Okay, so now you talked about your run a bit and you hit that finish line. Now, what are you thinking in terms of what you're going to do next?
So I got the Iron Man bug after that.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
It's just that little nagging thing in your head. It's okay. You did this. Now, what's next? So I decided I should run a marathon before I should actually run
Right.
an Ironman.
Okay.
Just so I would know what normal discomfort is. I was just really worried. I think with just having this medical background, I was just worried about all the things that could medically go wrong with me. So I wanted to know what normal discomfort was in a marathon, as opposed to like something more serious after,
Yeah.
moving your body for 12 hours, 13 hours.
So,
So that was the marathon. And then I ended up moving after that.
okay.
So I moved out to San Diego. So that kind of halted. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hello.
Hey, beautiful cat.
At least he didn't show you his butthole.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a good interception right there. You got him just in time, didn't you?
Yes. So yeah, I moved out to California, and anytime I've moved a lot just with my husband's job, we've had to move quite a few times. So anytime I move someplace new, it just sort of slows all your training progress,
Yeah.
because you have to find new places to train, new
Mhm.
things to do. So I ended up going back down to shorter distances. I sort of lost that Ironman bug.
Mhm.
And they have so many races out there
Yeah.
on the West Coast. San Diego, there's basically one or two every month. The Tri
Mhm.
Club had one every month.
Yeah.
So it was just I could do a lot of these short distances. And then I started doing a little more of the half Ironmans. So I was doing maybe 2 or 3 halves
Mhm.
a year. So that was fun. And then I guess I still kept talking. I must have been talking in my sleep or something, because one day my husband said to me, he's like, just do that Iron Man. I was like, yeah, you're right.
And
That's
did you have any of the issues that you were concerned about, or did your background and medical background help stave them off?
I think I found good balance between, the swimming, biking, the running. I started strengthening doing a lot more strength training that year. I also had taken a running form course because in my experience with the marathons and same with the half marathons, I could run for so long and then I feel like my legs would just blow up and I would slow down. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong here. So I took a running form class. It was through CrossFit. And that was really, really, really great for me to do. I was fortunate to never really have any injuries running. And based on what my running mechanics were, I'm really surprised I never did. So that was the big thing for me. It just made running a lot easier.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that? I'm curious about your running form course. What did that entail, and what did they teach you that you didn't know?
So they videotaped me running. They videotaped everybody running and basically critiqued everybody running. They were more pose-based running. So what they taught were more pose drills and techniques, but it never really felt quite right. So I just sort of fell into that mid-foot landing. I was before that, I was a heel strike runner. I'll admit it. I would bound up and down the street. And I realized I was getting so much up and down motion that when I ran, I would actually look at the ground because the horizon was moving too much for my eyes to track. Yes, that was me. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, once we fix this problem, and almost immediately, once they told me a few drills and to work on my cadence, that just everything kind of fell together for me, and my running just astronomically improved.
That's real interesting. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who want to know. I do. What was the name of this company, and what was the form?
So this was the pose method of running. Okay. It's a little bit different. You can take any kind of natural running form. I ended up after when I moved again to Virginia, I ended up taking one of the Newton running courses. Okay. So that's what I would look at as more of the natural running, the Newton running. I don't think that Newton has their courses anymore, but that kind of thing is what I focus on.
Well, what I really enjoy hearing is this, when you're a physical therapist and you're reaching out for more information about your sport, in this case, running. And I think that's really neat for people to hear, is that it's always good to get some insight from other folks. So that's great to do.
Yeah, especially you've got a medical and a physiological background, physiology, but still you're seeking ways to improve, ways to change, work on your form. And I mean, that applies to everything: swimming, biking, and running. And it was real interesting to hear you say that you increased your strength. You realized that strength was a big factor in keeping injury free and for working on the longer distances. So
yeah, it made a huge difference for me. I think just, you don't feel as broken down. The impact isn't as hard when your muscles are supporting your body better. And just having that strength in throughout your core too, to just hold your body upright for so many hours.
All right. So now I want to get to the Ironman, Bob. I want to hear the story on this. And did you sign up with someone, or did you start training for Ironman? And I want to hear how that went.
Yeah, so I signed up by myself. I just said, okay, I got to do this. I'm going to sign up for this race. And I had already had kind of a busy year planned. I had qualified for the age group world championships that year. Nice. So I raced that in June, and then I did the Ironman in November. So everything kind of focused on my favorite speed work until June. And then after that, I started just sort of building up my long distance stuff. And I didn't get a coach. I just sort of looked at different training plans and kind of how my work life schedule was going to be and figure out what would work the best for me. And it was just a slow build. I took 4-week blocks, which I think is pretty standard, and built up for 3 weeks and sort of took an easier week, and eventually worked my way up to the longer distances. So I was physically ready for the Ironman.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I was terrified. I was a hot mess. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't finish a sentence before the race.
Oh no. And so this is Ironman Arizona. Had
This is
you
Arizona.
gone have you been to Tempe before?
I had done the half Ironmans out there for a couple of
Mhm.
years, so I was
Okay.
familiar with the race course there.
That's great.
So a really nice venue out there.
So race week was a tough week before the start then, huh?
Yeah, I think I was okay, a day or two before, but that morning was really just when
Yeah.
it all sort of hit me. I spent a year just planning, preparing, and training, and you want it to go well.
Mm. It's overwhelming, and you got a big day
Yeah.
ahead of you, and I think that's pretty common. But again, once you got started, how long into the swim did you sort of say, okay, now I'm doing what I do?
I got this.
So at this point I had joined a master's swim club, so I was confident in my swim.
Yeah.
I was a much better swimmer. So once I got to that first turn buoy where you got 2,000 type A personalities all trying to get to that first turn buoy, it was a mass swim start. So that was a little bit terrifying because there's just so many people and you're getting smacked and punched, and all it would take one person to put your head under the water and
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, this is scary. But once I hit that turn buoy, I think I just caught a nice draft off of somebody and
Nice.
just kept swimming. And I came out of the water. It was like an hour and 7 minutes. I was like,
That's
okay,
great.
that was a really good swim
Oh,
time. That was
that's
better than
great.
I was expecting.
Oh.
So hopped on the bike. The bike just felt long. It was just a long bike ride. I just wanted to be off the bike. And so the bike was pretty uneventful. Just I stopped a couple times to stretch out the low back because it was getting a little bit tired, a little tight. And then I got to the run. Felt good when I started. I think I just messed up my nutrition that day because everything had gone so well with my training. I had practiced the nutrition. It was all good. I don't know what I did on race day, but I got about a mile into that run and the tummy started hurting.
Oh no.
Yeah, so the second mile in, I threw up, and the whole course, the marathon course, became run a mile, walk a mile, vomit, run a mile, walk a mile, vomit.
Oh.
So it was not as planned, but
Yeah.
I still finished.
That's great.
Keep
And
moving.
I realized I can run a marathon or walk a marathon on ice chips and Coca-Cola.
That's impressive. I mean, when you start having those GI problems that early into an Ironman, that can make for a long run segment, and that just takes that grit. But I'm hearing the story of you being very consistent with racing over a long period of time, and the grit word obviously comes to mind. But I wonder how much of that is tied to your rugby experience. Like, how does rugby and playing rugby sort of play into triathlons? Besides the swim.
Yeah, you got to
Swimming
be
in the
tough
mud
for
in the
both.
games. Yeah, I mean, I think those are just it's being able to endure that physical discomfort.
Mhm.
I mean, rugby's a little different because you're constantly moving in a rugby match. You're constantly running, but then you're also getting tackled and you're tackling other people. So there is that, that pain there. So I think so much of being an athlete and that discipline is just that ability to be comfortable with being uncomfortable or having some, I would call it healthy pain because there is bad pain as well.
Yeah.
And knowing when you have that, the pain is okay versus not okay is really, really important in the longevity of an athlete.
That is
I
great.
like that, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's like it's not pleasant, but you're okay with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Makes you
way to
feel
put it.
alive.
That is great, and yeah, because everybody runs in those spots, in those types of events, and so having that ability to do that is really great. So what's next for you? Where are you headed in either the rest of 2021 or 2022?
So I haven't planned 2022 yet. A goal right now, I'll do the sprint at Pumpkin Man. I'm going to do a half marathon in December and try to do a marathon in January.
Oh wow!
Very good.
And then just kind of see how I feel after that.
Yeah.
See where the training takes me.
Which half and which full marathon?
I think I'm just going to do the ones out at Lake Mead.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
it's
And
a
that's
it's a
the
pretty
half, the Lake
course.
Mead half.
Yeah, I think yeah, in the Hoover Dam marathon and half marathon.
That is again your ability to endure that because neither of those courses are easy. Those
Tell
are
me that
tough.
after the race.
And Pumpkin Man. Heather, this has been so great to hear your background and how long you've been involved with the sport. This has just been so really great to hear this. And congratulations on your overall podium for Las Vegas Triathlon Sprint. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yep.
thanks for doing this. And really, I think it's great to hear for the members to hear how you started in high school to get an A, and now you
That's a
progressed
new
all the
one,
way to
yes.
doing an Ironman.
Yeah, Heather, also, I had a whole bunch of questions that I had to bite my tongue so I wouldn't go down the rabbit hole, but I'm going to follow up as far as for your post running and your bounding and heel striking, all that stuff. I'm with you on that. So I'm going to be pinging on you.
Oh
I have some
yeah,
questions
yeah,
for you.
absolutely. I have, I've taken some certification courses in it. Just, one, it helped me, but I also ended up treating a lot of runners when I was living in the Northern Virginia area.
Mhm.
So it was really beneficial for many people and just
Very good.
improving their form. I just saw significant changes in how they were running with just a few cueing techniques.
Mhm.
And, they were able to continue running with less pain.
Very good.
Bump up their mileage without too much difficulty.
Hmm. Very good. I've learned something new tonight. So I really
Excellent.
appreciate you being on, and thanks for doing this.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Have a good evening.
You too.